Before I start the second half, the last question I asked was around, is it a closed shop for leaders to get the top jobs in the IT channel? But I do want to tell you a funny story which happened very recently. About 3 weeks ago, we had a message into inquiries at Robertson & Sumner, straight into our inquiries, said, could we help with a UK country CEO? To be honest with you, we never even check out inquiries normally, so it was quite strange this happened. So we got onto the call, and then they said, could we meet at the Langham Hotel, 7:30, 2 weeks ago, which we did. We went along there, and they wanted to talk about, this is a multi-billion pound, 40 billion pound company from America, flew over, wanted to talk about hiring in the UK market, and we had a 90-minute meeting, and they gave me a massive job, UK CEO, huge salary, and we talked about talent, and we talked about how we would go to market, and we shared a few views. The CEO said to me, there's one name I would like you to approach, which I can't name, obviously, but there was one name I want you to approach that I'd like you to add to the list. I said, do you know them? I said, yes, I do know them very, very well, actually. I said, but looking at their profile, why would you want them on the list? He turns round, and then the vice president actually started speaking, and he said, this candidate, we've looked on social media, and we've seen that they're on an American platform show last year. We love their answers around leadership, the channel, the dynamics, what's happening in the market, and we just think they're a great CEO, and they should be included into the panel. So I had to ask, what is the American show? He turns around and says, Channel Chat, which was so ironic because I had to then say to him, this is not an American firm, this is a London firm, and we're in Liverpool Street, and I know the person, and I'm happy to do it, but he had no idea. He couldn't work out the correlation between we're a recruitment firm, search firm, and we run this show. And why am I saying this? Because if you want one of these top jobs, and you get asked to come on the panel or in the studio, if you say no, more for you, because you won't be getting any of these top jobs and you won't be getting on this. And that's a true story. He did see that person in the studio. So this is going to help your career, guys. No problems about that. But we'll go into it. So the second half, this was actually a question from another audience member as well, and I'll make sure I try and get it right, because about culture and targets. So with targets rising in the UK, is your people strategy driving growth, or is it just keep it up? So when performance dips, do anyone care about the culture, the performance, ESG, D&I, any of the initiatives? Do they just go out the window if performance dips? Neil?
Well, I think if you went with that strategy, you might get a quarter, you might get 6 months of trying to pump the business, but you lose all your authenticity. You'd probably be out of a job if you're not doing what is right in creating a talent pool where you're enabling them to be the best that they can be and thrive, and growing an incredible culture. Then you're not going to be here for the medium term, let alone the end of the short term. So, no, I don't think it does. I think you've got to dig down and go even harder in that area when performance is tough.
Anya, what about you? People strategy important if numbers are down?
Massively important. There's two questions that our sellers are being asked to ask themselves every day. Did I move the deal forward, and did I do something right by our partners and ourselves to drive true durable growth? That growth comes from predictability, consistency, keeping ahead of the market, and ultimately that mutual value with our partners. So it's about doing the right thing and remaining consistent, and culture breeds success. And I'm a huge, there's peaks and troughs, different markets, different economies, different routes to market, different challenges, but it's about staying consistent and being there through the wins and the losses.
Lyndsey, what about you? Culture over performance? What's more important?
I think they come hand in hand. I think if you've got the right culture, then you'll get the right performance. I don't think that the two, and also from a services business point of view, if you haven't got the right culture, you're not going to deliver a good service to your customers and you're going to lose business. So I think it's essential.
What about you, Alistair? I mean, maybe initiatives, D&I, ESG initiatives. Do they go out the window when numbers are down?
So I'll be controversial here. So I did see definitely in the last year in the States, that some of those initiatives, they're still there and they're still important, but they weren't pushed as hard as they were maybe 4 or 5 years ago. So, I mean, look, when the Trump administration came in, a lot of things changed, okay? You had to change policy to do business. Simple as that, okay? And so I think that, again, I think this is not the answer to the question you're looking for, because I'm answering a different question. But I think that there are different, the culture is very important because, as we all alluded to, it's what drives your people. It's what makes them get up and work 12-hour days and go for it. But at the same time, you have to be aware of the political landscape, the geopolitics that surround your company, and you have to adapt to it. And right now, in certain markets, there are certain geopolitics, and so you will push different buttons and raise different things that will be different in different markets. In this market, I'm not too certain. I've only been here a year, so I probably don't know in the UK market, but in the States, I saw it change. When it was obvious that Trump was coming in, things changed. Companies started to act differently. Messaging got diluted. Other things became more important. And that's what you have to do to succeed. And then in 4 years' time, it will change again if somebody else comes into power. So again, it's hard to answer it directly because I think there are lots of associated things around the edges. But I did see that definitely in the States. Okay. We don't have rock stars at 8 o'clock in the morning anymore, playing their guitars on stage like this, which you had about 4 or 5 years ago.
Loads of partners in the room tonight. Where are the partners making the most money in 2025? Is it cloud, security, services, AI, or something else? Where's the money? Alistair, I'll come back to you.
So, I'm going to do one of those. I actually think there's 2 areas that I see growth and I encourage people to look at. So number one is around managed services, which again is quite unique to this market. This is a very heavy managed service market, and obviously the guys are nodding down the end there. We need more, particularly tier 2 managed service providers who are localized, who've got those incredible skills, who are taking our great solutions and wrapping it with their unique IP. That is a huge growth area in security, absolutely. I think a lot of the security market went to offshore companies about 4 or 5 years ago that maybe haven't done as well as they should do because they were cheaper. They kind of will run your mess for less. That's definitely out the window now. I think that the great service providers that are providing local great services who really understand the clients and have got that intimacy are doing really well. And then the second one, I think, is just, the consultants that are really getting deeper and deeper into the clients, okay, really understanding your customer. And they don't have to be the big global GSIs, of course, but I'm seeing that the great consultants who are just really doubling down and focusing on helping the clients be successful, particularly in my market in cyber, it's just a lot going on there. There's a lot of customers need a lot of help because they're underinvested. So it's less about the actual technology for me because I don't see across the board. I mean, my ex-colleague from Cisco will probably have a better view there because she sees everything. I only see one part of it.
What about you, Anya? What's the feedback from your partners? Where are they making money?
Agree. It's in services. It's in the value. Like, we get up every day to delight the customer, I think is a term we coined a few years ago. That's where the money is. It's where it's margin rich, depending on what your sales force are motivated by across the channel. If it's GP, if it's margin, they don't always match on the product side. It absolutely comes to life for everything from SMB right up to those WPAs and enterprise services and value to the customer. If you analyze your attrition of your customers in that life cycle, you're just starting again. It's safeguarding the value of that customer, that there's zero attrition, that your renewal becomes automatic, not a point in time point of or discussion or that kind of 6 months, oh shit, it's coming up, we better start thinking about this moment, that it's absolute, that layer is there, and it's all around those excellent services that our partners and we are delivering together.
Neil, focus group, where are you making money?
Services and cyber, really, but I would say the customer base, as I said earlier, SME space, it's pretty challenged. The S in SME, what's happening? Well, companies are not opening in the UK. You're not seeing lots of companies opening. They're not really growing these small customers, and if anything, they're declining. We've got the highest number we've seen for many years. In fact, business confidence in the UK is lower than it was at the moment Rishi Sunak went out and described, furlough. It's lower than that right now. So it's an incredibly tough market. We are growing our recurring revenue, which is our services, which is about 85% of our business. Pretty much what we do is recurring revenue. But the one-offs, the spiky deals that come through that help the year, they're not happening. Customers are holding off in that area. We do think there's probably some pent-up demand, and as a buyer and a bit of a consolidator in the market, we've got to be careful that we don't find some companies growing really well next year because they've really had 2 years of pent-up demand. So there's a bit of buyer beware stuff. But yeah, I'd say services and cyber are the probably two key areas.
Lyndsey, you're not going to copy these three, are you? So you're going to say something different? Where are you making money?
Well, we have different segments, and I think we're seeing different things in different segments. I'm going to focus on the partner segment. So we're seeing quite a lot of growth in cloud still in that segment. So this is selling into your SMB customer base. So we're starting to see some growth in IoT in that space. So I think different businesses are in different stages of their own level of transformation. I agree with the S part. The S part of the market is it's a volume. And it's really challenging in that space. It's about just hoovering up as many customers as possible. So I think those two areas is slightly different to probably in the larger enterprise, your public sector, etc. That is more about your cybersecurity services, your managed services, and co-managed services as well. Customers want to have a level of control themselves. So I think different segments are in different growth areas.
So you've all mentioned services, and services is growing 3 times bigger than hardware and software, with cyber services outpacing cyber products. How are you reshaping your business to capture that shift? How are you actually doing that? So Lyndsey, I'll come back to you. How are you reshaping the business to capture this? So
I think that everything that we do has always had a level of service to be delivered around it. I think it's more about specific partnerships that we create within the customer base, and being able to become that customer's trusted provider, really, so you can cross-sell into that space. Internally in the background, I think there's very different disciplines and skills. So the service that you maybe is delivered on a UC system or a managed network compared to a cloud solution or an IT service is slightly different. So we're having to shift and change the way that the operations team might function as part of that. The last part is digital, so that customer digital experience. Again, that journey is different for different segments. So getting ahead with how do we serve the customers digitally using tools such as AI, that's something that needs to be built in, and there's different personas for the different segments. So yeah, there's definitely change.
Yeah, I think it's an evolution of the services portfolio. I mean, when we delivered services, we had premium and we had transactional, and that was it. One was really, really expensive, and one we would attach after the fact because we had to, or we wouldn't. So again, when I think to Lyndsey's point, when we look at the skills that we need to have those service-led conversations to deliver that value at day one selling and in life selling, I think the evolution of our portfolio has been massive. And I think we've seen that happen particularly in the last 18 months with Cisco. And I think what we've done is, what we've recognized is that our partners have invested so heavily in their own services, and oftentimes we have just said, well, we compete. I think we've broken down those barriers and unleashed those biases around, well, where do we bookend, where do we complement, and getting really creative in how we co-serve the customer together rather than it being all or nothing for us or them.
Neil, what about you?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier the operating platform, a lot of underpinnings that we're really kind of creating a platform that we can leverage, integrated, orchestrated propositions across voice and connectivity, mobile and IoT, cyber, IT, cloud. And I think one of the biggest projects we've got is getting the data foundations right, because if we get that data foundations right, all the information about our customers, we can leverage that with AI and create a really integrated, cohesive approach that is completely customer-centric. So we fundamentally believe that the SME space want to have one provider, maybe two, and we want to be capturing that. And I think if we build a business that is fundamentally customer-focused and integrated proposition across that ICT space, then we've got a good chance.
And Alistair, you?
Yeah, so in Palo Alto Networks, we don't have good partner programs. I'm sorry, I'll be honest with you. I know Phil's turning in his boots now.
We do.
Yeah, you do. No, you can shift now. Cisco does. So we've just fired our channel chief. She's gone. We've just moved the most aggressive Italian-American you've ever met in your life into running our channel, and he's going to rip the whole thing to pieces and start again. So we are going to have a very strong program for MSPs, Tier 1 and Tier 2, that will be fully funded. We are going to put a lot more money into enabling, because we're buying so many companies. Right now, if you want to make money, AI security, it's the hottest topic in the EBC. Everyone wants to talk about it, and it's real money, and it's quick as well. So what we know, a lot of our partners don't have that skill, and we've got to get those skills and enable and training out there. So yeah, you watch this space for Palo Alto. We are going to come back with some much better programs. We're going to put more money in the channel, more deliberate. We're going to fund more, whatever you need funding. I better be careful here. But I don't think we've done a good job, and I came from Cisco, who do a really good job. So yeah. But we're going to put money and we're going to change because we have to go faster because we're growing so quickly. But there's new technologies, but definitely MSP. We need more managed service providers, tier ones and definitely tier twos that are regional because the technology and the demand is definitely there.
Mark, can I just add to that? I would say Cisco, without doubt, is the most channel-centric vendor out there. If you want to do a deal, if Cisco want to do a deal direct, they have to get sign-off from the Cisco channel chief. It has to go past their desk. And I think that is the commitment to channel that these providers need from vendors. So good messaging, I think, Alistair. Great that you came in from Henley today, made that long journey. But I genuinely do think you can learn a huge amount from Cisco.
So we don't have any direct deals. We don't do direct business. We're two-tier. So we're the same channel. It's just that the Cisco channel is properly funded, and it's mature. And so that's where we aim to be. And we'll get there, but it'll take time.
Right, 4 quick-fire questions before we go to the audience. But just quick answers, quick, sharp, maybe even yes or no. For small partners unable to build services internally, how effective is distribution or a channel service provider in filling that gap? Anya, how good?
Getting much better than they used to be, and I think the disties, all three of the globals and regional, have done a phenomenal job in investing in just that practice.
Neil?
Yeah, at Focus Group, we've got a channel provision, so small partners can use our services. So, and I think similar to Lyndsey, so I'd leverage on us, not distribution.
Yeah.
Lyndsey?
I would agree.
Yeah. Alistair?
Two disties, Exclusive and Westcon, and they're both doing really well with their channel managed partners. And we'll put more money in that program. It works.
Okay. Which AI tool do you use most on your phone today, if any, Lyndsey?
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT.
Notebook LM.
Which one?
Notebook LM.
Claude by Anthropic.
Okay. If you got sacked tomorrow, and you could come to me for a job, but if you get sacked tomorrow, where would you work and why, Neil? And don't say go back to work for Mike. We can't have that.
I think if it was tomorrow, I'd love to stay in private equity. I'd love to carry on working in a HG portfolio company in the US.
Interesting. Anya,
I'm going entrepreneur. I spoke about this with a few people. I'm going out to myth bust to help break down some of the biases and the barriers for the channel. My passion is the channel, my heritage is the channel, so it would be something that I would love to help accelerate success of the channel while I succeed also in my new entrepreneurial role.
Alistair, if you get sacked tomorrow, where are you going?
Anthropic. Love it. My mate's just become a chief revenue officer. So, why not?
Lyndsey?
I think a small managed service provider.
More managed provider?
Yeah.
And we'll finish on this question before we go to the audience. And again, quick, short answer. If you're going to give one piece of advice for leaders in the room for their plans for 2026, what is it? Anya?
People first business.
People first business?
Yeah, be relevant.
Be relevant.
Probably to accelerate the growth with the merger.
Alistair, close the show.
Your customers are your greatest reference. So just double down and focus on them because they'll tell their friends. CIOs all hang out in the same pubs. CISOs all hang out in the same pubs. They do. They all talk to each other. So if you do a really good job and you look after your customers and do what you say you're going to do, they will tell their friends you will win more business.
This sounds like the after party. This is going to be in a minute. Oh, you got the greatest advert. Right, let's go to the audience. Anthony, have we got any questions from the audience? Oh,
hello? Yes, hi. I've got Kelvin Lee here.
Kelvin Lee.
Can I ask the first question?
CRO XMA. The floor's yours,
Hi,
Kelvin.
everyone. I'd be really interested to know what you think about, or your personal view, not your company view, about hybrid working.
Ooh. My favourite subject is because I like going back to the office. Neil.
Yeah, I like people in the office. I think you can be flexible, but I think businesses like ours we don't make a product. So I think our people are our product, and I think when you're around people, you kind of advance your culture. So office first, but be flexible where required.
Office first.
Yeah, I don't think we can offer the same flexibility to every role, and I think it's our duty to the earlier in career. I grew up in contact centres and sales floors. The dynamic and the culture only happens when we're in it. We're in it together. We're celebrating together and learning from each other. So I do think that it's a hybrid model for a hybrid world, right? And I think everybody will gain more by flexing that muscle of getting on the tube and back into the office, because it's so worth it.
Do you think, Lyndsey?
I think it's role specific. I think the hybrid working's role specific, but I think that there's a lot of culture that's created when you're in an office environment, and I think when you've got younger people who are learning, they learn best when you're in a room with other people.
Look, we spent a load of money on a really nice office on the 55th floor of 22 Bishopsgate. Many of you have been there. You're smiling because it's got an incredible view. It's the highest office in Europe. People want to come in. And we put on good food. I mean, like, you have to have bacon sandwiches with this funny relish thing. I'm from Manchester. It turns me weird, but yeah. So, and then the last thing is that we also allow our teams to expense their travel into the office, so they get work from home contracts. So if we are pulling people in, at least it's not costing them money. But I think the office is definitely the centre of what we do.
I think the biggest thing in terms of getting people into the office, it's all well and good us saying get people into the office, go office first. It's FOMO. If people think things are happening in the office and things should be happening in the office, then they want to be there. You know, you want to create an environment where you don't have to ask them to come.
Yeah, but also we said, like, we started with the office as a magnet, not a mandate. I think we've had to flip a little bit more on the mandate for certain roles, to Lyndsey's point. But coming into the office and sitting in a cubbyhole on WebEx all day, you're wasting your and everybody else's time. So leadership have decided that when we're in the office, we're present, we're on the floors, those water cooler conversations we're having the call-out days, that the dynamic is energetic and people really want to be there, and it does drive that FOMO.
Right, Anthony, someone else. Let's get a controversial question.
Well, I've got Alex here. He's always good for a
Oh, this is good.
controversial
Go on
question.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll ask a controversial question. Mark, today you put out a tweet talking about women responding to job adverts differently. And you said that actually men will see a couple of things they like and they say, yeah, I'll apply for it. Whereas women will go look through the whole lot and say, do I qualify for it all? Mm-hmm. Firstly, I'd like to ask, given there's a balanced panel today, is that true? And secondly, I don't know what you asked the audience today to order to come here, but clearly everyone qualified for a couple of questions because there's mostly blokes here today. Yeah? So perhaps you could do a better job when it comes to channel chat and say, what do you need to get a more balanced audience in the channel chat?
He's up.
Do you want some of us to answer that?
Yeah, go on, Nance.
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Alex. I think it's wrong to generalise in that way, so I don't fully agree with that. But I think creating an environment where people feel they can be the best they can be is the most important thing, and that's not only internally. It's about how you outreach and how you look as an organisation to people who might come and join. So yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I heard that years ago, and I thought, oh God, maybe I'm a boy, because I didn't treat it that way. You know, and to talk about massive generalizations, it's a different mindset, it's a different creativity of thought, and it's the appreciation of, like, who actually writes these job descriptions? How relevant is it to keeping context and reality and being pragmatic about it and being brave and courageous. And again, it's role specific. If I'm an engineer, am I going to think I need to tick off everything in the box? If I'm sales, I'm like, oh, give it a whirl. I mean, I went for a job when I was moving from Oracle to Cisco. There was a database leadership role that you had to be proficient and expert on JD Edwards. I had never seen JD Edwards before in my life, but did I know it within the first week of running it? Yep. So it's all about, I think it's context, and I think we have a duty as leaders to make sure that our earlier in career and our hiring process is much more diverse, and we allow people the flexibility to go for the roles when they may not specifically think that they are capable, but also that leaders give people the right to interview based on their experience, even if it doesn't tick all the boxes, because that burns people. And we have it in our organization where people want to move from channel into portfolio sales, but there's biases, want to move from portfolio to services, but there are biases. Same with CX, Alistair, you'll remember that. Like, we need to open the opportunity pool and not be so binary in how we deal with things with recruitment.
What about you, Alistair?
Yeah, look, so about 3 months ago, I put out an advert on LinkedIn, a post on LinkedIn, sorry, saying, hey, I'm recruiting. If you're interested, ping me. I got about 300 pings, 98 from India. I was very specific. You had to be, one, you had to know cyber, and B, you had to know the enterprise clients in the UK. But I'd say that it was probably about 5 or 10% from female candidates and 90% from male candidates. And when I went through it, and we did actually reply to every single person, so it was, we put some thought behind it, we did find that the female candidates that did reply were actually quite well versed, actually read what I put, but they knew cyber or they knew the clients. And most of the male clients, apart from the 98 from India, that obviously, thank you very much, but UK only, we found that most of them didn't. So I would say that there is something in that. You know, exactly how deep it goes, I don't know. But generally, in my industry, in cybersecurity, we have a real problem bringing young ladies into the industry. There's just not enough. And we work really hard to recruit and to train female talent because, we want to make sure that not everyone looks like us because it's boring. So for cyber, definitely, we need to do a much better job.
And it's not just male and female. Like, we're living in a world with such a diverse community, and to keep focusing on male, female, we're way behind the time. So I think we need to change the narrative on that whole piece.
Anthony, let's have 2 more questions.
I've got Donovan here.
Great, let's hear it.
It has to be another DEI question.
Right.
Just huge congratulations again, Mark, for having such a diverse, gender group of individuals on stage. Given the political landscape between the UK and the US when it comes to DEI, firstly, what's your company's stance in this regard? But also, secondly, as leaders driving equity and inclusion within your workforce, what are you doing to contribute to that?
Alistair, come to you. What are you doing?
Okay, that's a hard one. I've got to be careful here. There's the video. So I think in terms of the first question, which was around data sovereignty, that's correct. Look, the thing about AI and the way that AI runs, it runs off large models, okay? It runs off data. We run global. We don't have a sovereign cloud here. We're not going to have one. We don't have air-gap solutions. They don't work with AI, simply don't work. So when clients say that they really want to keep the data within a certain country, we'll do our best to work with them and actually ask them why. Because the whole power of AI is actually having that training model on. We've got 13 petabytes of cyber data, the most cyber data in the world we've got. And that's what runs our AI, and that's why it's so effective. So again, we have to really drill into the kind of why. What is it you're really trying to achieve? And is there different ways of achieving it than the one that's perceived? And in terms of diversity, we work really hard to try to make sure that we have a balance in the organization, not just male and female, but across the board. And so we're always looking at different programs and talent programs and recruitment programs from different parts of the country as well. We don't want to recruit just from the south of England. We try to recruit from, across the whole of the UK. But it's a challenge, and we have to focus really hard on it.
What about you, Neil? Specifically diversity, you mentioned.
Yeah, I have a very diverse leadership team, and they're very out there talking about, how we're creating the right environment. But I'm not a fan of targets. You could put targets in place, but I think it's about creating an environment where, to my earlier point, people can be confident and go forward and believe in themselves to create, a meritocracy. I think that's the most important thing. So, we do a huge amount of outreach in the communities and so forth, and try to connect people into the organisation from diverse backgrounds and so forth. But I know the question wasn't about targets. I just don't feel that is the right measure to go after this. I think it's creating a culture where you're seen as an organisation which is very open and engaging with all communities.
Lyndsey, what about you?
So I think there's a huge issue in our industry, in the technology industry as a whole. And I think that everyone needs to do more than what we're all doing today. And I think it starts with education for young people. So before the age of 7, at the age of 7, they're already influenced, they're already heading in a certain direction, and we're not creating enough engagement with young children around opportunity and technology and getting them excited. So when they're at school and they get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? Someone comes up with something in a tech role. They're not really thinking like that. They're all want to be a YouTuber or an Instagrammer or whatever. So I think that we need to do a lot more, huge. But if you think about it, we've already lost out on people because we're not focusing on young children. We're focusing on people who are going to be your next apprentice or a grad. But they've already made their mind up by then, so your pool's already short, and it's mostly men.
Right, Anthony, one more question. Make sure it's a good one.
Well, I'm no pressure, but Ian Goodfellow wanted to ask a question, I believe.
Ian,
So
it
here he
needs
is.
to be a good one.
Oh,
Needs to be good.
A good one.
Good question.
I think my question gives away my opinion on this. I want to go back to LinkedIn, Alistair. So with the increase in adverts and personal posts, proud dad, all of that, and becoming quite Facebook-ish, I hope they're not in the room, is LinkedIn becoming like Facebook, or is it still a useful tool or a bit of a pain in the arse?
Great question, actually. Neil, is it a pain in the arse?
Yeah, I'm struggling with it. Good question, Goody. Good to see you. What I struggle with is all of these salespeople that have now all of a sudden become coaches. And I'm kind of fundamentally of the belief if you can't sell, coach.
Yeah.
That's kind of how it feels, because I'm just sick of seeing it in my thread, and I will unfollow any time I see that. There's some really talented coaches out there, but it feels like a shortcut way to poor salespeople to turn into a coach.
Yeah, I have a couple of people on my team. It's the self-appreciation and glorification that I struggle with as well. To your point, Ian, I think we have lost the balance of the purpose of the platform. One of my leaders came to me and we'd awarded them with the leader of the quarter for Q4. He's like, I think I'll put that on LinkedIn, or that would be a bit, I was like, yeah, that would be a bit, wait for somebody else to tell you you're good before you tell yourself. So again, I think it's generational, and I think it's about education and being really explicit as a company when you are, as in your role, outwardly facing from the company, that you're really explicit on what you do and how you do it.
Alistair, you put a post up, you got 300 replies. Does it work for you? Is it like Facebook?
Yeah, so it does work. I actually got a brilliant candidate today who I phoned him immediately back. So I actually engage really quickly. So if you ping me within a couple of seconds, I'll say, send me your phone number, literally. And I always have a little chat with everyone. I'm a real chatter. I love it. So actually for me, I still find it really useful. This candidate, he came in, he was exactly what I was looking for. He had the right experience. He knew the client. He's already in the funnel. He'll be interviewed tomorrow. We need to move quickly in this market. I also agree with something that it's a little bit noisy out there. I also don't like all the really professional stuff that's on there. I like to think it's a little bit more genuine, and you can tell which the genuine posts and which aren't. But I do find that you can get to a wide audience very quickly. There's some great talent out there. We also don't really care about the background of the candidates, so we're not particularly. Yes, it's great if they've got the things we're looking for, but we'll look at anybody and we'll talk to anybody, and we'll make sure we bring people in. You never know. I mean, we hired this fantastic young lady into sales recently, and she was working at Wetherspoons before this, and she's knocking it out. She just made President's Club.
So you had a message on LinkedIn, you called them, you got them into the funnel tomorrow.
Yeah.
I need to change jobs, that's quick.
Yeah.
Jesus. What about you, Lyndsey? Finish the show.
I still think it's useful. I think it's useful for resource sharing and information, so looking at it on a different lens. There's good insight and information that's shared on there, and I think a lot of people do still read things on there and learn things on there, see what the competition's up to on there. But I do also agree that there's probably a lot of PR for individuals.
Right.
That happens.
Well, that is the end of the show. I'd like to make a couple of announcements. First of all, thanks for the panel. I think you'll agree they've been wonderful. Second, for everyone joining, I know the trains were busy, but what a turnout for the IT channel. So clap yourselves with that, so thank you. And lastly, 2 announcements. We have some more food coming out, which should be on display. There will be more drinks. The after party is at the, I keep on getting this name wrong, Babel Beer House, is it, Anthony? Babel Beer House is just 2 minutes across the road. Please come along. I'm sure our after party sponsor Luke will be talking about services. I will be talking about getting guests into the studio. But what I really want to make sure is there's partnerships tonight made please come up to me. I'll introduce you to anyone tonight that you don't know. We should be able to get new partnerships, new agreements, co-opetition, frenemies, whatever you want to call it in the room. So please come to the after party, free bar. That's it. Thank you.